Hey everyone, this is Chelsea Schaefer. Welcome to this week's episode of The Score. Thank you all for coming back again. Man, it's been an awesome year in this podcast and an awesome year for y'all listening to this. We are so grateful that you spend so much time with us when you're in the truck with your family, when you're, for me, I listen to podcasts when I'm doing the dishes, exercising horses. Not really sure when y'all are listening, but glad you are listening because our numbers are just skyrocketing. Team roping is thriving, and I think we're in a pretty great spot. The reason I say that is because we've got these two guys on this podcast today who have helped us be in this great spot. They have been responsible for a lot of the growth in the rope horse market because of their horsemanship, their dedication to excellence, and I'm so grateful that they always seem to make time for us, make time for me on this podcast, and that is Trevor Brazile and Miles Baker. If you follow everything we do at the Team Roping Journal and at roping.com, you might be sick of them already, but I hope not, because, man, we do a lot of cool stuff with these guys, from instructional articles to lots and lots of videos. I just got 5 hours worth of footage that I need to sort through from 2 days of shooting that we did with Trevor and Miles. It's going to go live on roping.com this winter. These are just two of my favorite people to work with, and it's not just because they are brilliant, and it's not just because they're well-spoken. They're as good as it gets. They're as good as gold, and we have a lot of fun in everything that we do. So this episode, we're kind of catching up with them because they haven't been on the Score itself in a while, and that's just because we've been busy using them all different directions. So we catch up. If you've only listened to what we do through the Score and you're not following us on Facebook and you're not following us on roping.com, then maybe you don't know how much they're doing. So that's what this episode's all about. We're going to fill you in. We're going to catch you all up on their rope horse Futurity prep because we are very close to the rope horse Futurity. And at the end of the episode, we do talk about what Miles has going on at his home in Mountain Park, Oklahoma. Now, I've been to the Baker Ranch. We shot some video there, like I said, last month. Beautiful place. Everything was top-notch. Had the horses in safe pens. Everything is safe until an F3 tornado rolls right through the heart of your place and destroys everything. So just 24 hours before we recorded this interview, Miles and his wife Daisy, their place was struck by an F3 tornado, and it did a number on it. But as they'll talk about the way that God worked in this scenario, he did not fail to protect the Bakers and their horses. Every horse in that place was without harm, and that's a miracle in and of itself. Okay, before we get too far into this episode, I do want you to know, as we joke about while I'm talking to Miles and Trevor, we recorded it outside of my 5-year-old daughter's dance studio right after her dance class, in between all kinds of different directions that we were running. So with that said, there is a 5-year-old who tries to be very, very quiet in the background of the whole episode. Sometimes she has an emergency that she has to speak to me about, so if you hear a little girl whispering, maybe singing some Disney songs in the background, I'm really sorry. I'm glad y'all still listen to us. I know we've had lots of real life scenarios come through this podcast over the years, so it's just another one of them. So thank you all. Thanks for listening for 4 years, over 1 million listens. We so appreciate you. So enjoy this episode of The Score. This is Chelsea Schaefer, and this is Season 4 of The Score. You all have listened to this podcast 750,000 times, and we are here in Season 4 to bring you even more of what you love. Before we get to the interview, I do want to tell you, this episode is brought to you by Cactus Ropes. There is a reason that we're talking to Trevor and Miles right now. It's not just about the Futurity. Trevor and Cactus have a new rope that Miles has also been testing. Coming out, 2 new ropes actually, called the Future Light and the Future All Around. So Trevor himself is going to introduce those ropes at the end of the episode. So listen the whole way through to find out the new goodies that you need in your future arsenal. Hey guys, it feels kind of weird to be doing a podcast with you because I feel like there's very little that we haven't talked about in the last few weeks. But it turns out we haven't necessarily been talking about everything on the record all the time. So now there's no secrets.
That's the way we like it, Chelsea.
Perfect. Okay. All right. So you haven't been on the score, Trevor, in forever, but I think
you don't have retired guys on there. That's because he has trouble scoring.
I know, we don't have retired guys on there. Somebody actually, so I guess the PRCA, so we're recording this on Wednesday, I guess the PRCA made its secret phone calls about Horses of the Year today, and I was calling guys trying to figure out who won it, and I actually don't know who won the head horse of the year yet, so if you know, don't spoil it. But they said, well, Trevor probably won it from home, is what 2 different people said to me, so.
I wish it was that easy.
I said there was still a chance. Clint said he did not win it, but I said there was still a chance.
Really?
Yeah.
Man, I thought that horse was really, really good this year.
You just wanted to win Horse of the Year from home. But,
I did.
No, I thought that horse was cool. But anyway, long way to say that a lot has happened since the last time you were on the podcast. And so maybe for people who aren't paying attention to our website and who aren't paying attention to our social media and your social media, because there are those out there that don't live and die by Facebook, they might have not know that you guys bought a stud. Tell me, start at the beginning with how Show Me the Buckles came into your horse program.
I'll let Miles start.
We come across the 3-year-old buckskin gelding that was just super athletic, and I would call him stingy. He was really talented, had a lot of feel, and we liked him. And it just so happened that my wife had wanted to breed to the stud called Show Me the Buckles, and I went home and told her that we had found one.
Spoiler alert, that's the stud we bought.
Yeah. And so she was excited. Honestly, at the time, she just wanted to breed to him because his mane was 5 foot long, and I couldn't blame her. He was super good looking, but the more I rode that particular horse that we called Dagger, the more I was impressed with him himself. And then when I got a chance to ride a few more that were by that stud, I slowly started seeing a pattern in the ability and the disposition, and it made me more interested in the stud. But who would have thought we would ever have the opportunity to buy him? And as we were riding back up the arena one day from the strip and shoot, I got a phone call, and we had first option of buying the horse, and the rest is history. So I'll let Trevor take it from there.
Yeah, Trevor, where did you come in there?
At this point, I'd never seen the stud. I just like riding the geldings that we had.
Wait, so you can imagine the look I gave him when he said, "What's he look like?"
Well,
and I'm about to get to show him.
My first one is, no, I'm not. I'm not even close to interested in getting in the breeding business. And they said, "Well, have you ever seen him?" And I'm like, "No." And so I was going to stick to my guns until I saw a picture of him, and then I said, "Well, I guess we could try the stud business."
Mm-hmm.
I've never been scared of a really, really pretty horse that throws great offspring.
Yeah, absolutely. But it was not an easy... Like, you guys put a lot of thought into it before you jumped in, right? Like, there was quite a bit of time that elapsed between that phone call and when you decided to pull the trigger.
There's just a lot of homework to do buying a stud that's already been proven and that's already stood somewhere, as opposed to going and buying a gelding. If that was a gelding, you would look at him and be like, "Oh, he's super broke and he's pretty. If the money's right, I'll buy him." And with the stud, we had to do the testing and make sure that everything was good, and it's more of a process. You're really kind of buying a business more than you're buying a horse at that point.
Mm-hmm. And you would know better than anybody because you kind of had talked to us through the process, but we had never been in this business at all. The breeding deal was so foreign to me for sure. Miles and Daisy had dabbled in it, but I didn't know the first thing about it. I just knew the product that we wanted to get, and that was the means to do that. And so there was a lot of research, mainly as much just on that aspect of this industry as much as it was the stud for us, because it was like, how does this work, you know?
Yeah.
Because everybody will tell you don't even touch this part of it because it's such a long process. It's expensive, but you know, and all that. But what they don't tell you is how rewarding it is, you know. And since we are at home riding them, we're, you know, starting from the start to the finish. It's just made sense to know what we were going to be raising, and so that we could duplicate the stuff that we had success on and really liked.
I told somebody the other day, if it was just an avenue to make money, I mean, I would be upfront and tell people that. But I've told Trevor that we have a handful of them. I guess every morning the first thing I do is ride them and the colts before we start roping. And we have 3 of them right now that I'm riding, and I love every one of them. I enjoy riding them. And so that's a huge point for us, because of all the colts I've rode, I truly enjoy. They're light from the beginning. They're trainable. They're athletic. They want to stop. They want to turn, and they travel good. They're fun to ride. And so for me, seeing the stud standing over there in a stall, it gets me excited, because I'm like, with all the colts I've started since I've started them, that's the horse that I like starting colts by the most, and we have him standing here in our barn. So it is a long process, but we have weanlings, yearlings, 2-year-olds, 3-year-olds. Dagger is 4, and it's a long process, but it's a fun process with these babies. So that was the offspring part of our decision. But you've seen the stud. He's just a unique horse, and so I was wanting to find out what he was like to show, and what he had done. They said in his outs, he had never won less than second, and the only time that it was ever listed third, it was because they split second and had to do a coin flip. But his attributes were he was a freaky, athletic. I mean, just a freak athlete. And if they picked on him, it could be a little bit deep in the stop. And for what we do, I mean, at that point we were like, don't threaten us with a good time, because that's exactly what we're looking for. So it just, the word they used was he was a little bit too aggressive. Stop it. And I seen Trevor's face light up. So
that's funny.
I knew we were going to have to write a check at that point.
There has, very long been a discussion about reining bred versus cutting bred versus, true cow horses. I don't think you guys have settled on reining bred horses necessarily with him. It's not like this is the decision maker that reining bred horses are better, but there are things about his training and about his offspring's ability that you really like. What about that discipline is fitting well in your program?
Sorry, I'll talk because he's eating gummy bears again.
He's not even lying.
Hey, it's a different deal. It's really not about discipline versus discipline. We've made good horses of all of that, so I would say that going forward. But we had just found that the word cow has kind of evolved with these horses, and nowadays the cow has made them almost a little bit skittish, or a little bit too watchy or scared of a cow.
And reactive on a cow.
Yeah. And which serves them well in their disciplines, but it poses a challenge whether you're heading or heeling on them in ours. And so the only thing I can say about Show Me the Buckles is when he was 13 years old, he saw his first cow, and it was legitimately like a magnet.
Yeah.
It was the same kind of old school cow that everybody talked about, that you just could just start loping behind cattle and start making horses. I mean, it wasn't any uncertainty. It was show it to him and he was going to go to him. And that was just 100% natural, because he came out of the reining pen. And we already knew his colts had it, but we were just experimenting to see what he was himself. And we just love riding him because he is fun to ride. But it's hard to explain. So our horses aren't, Miles starts all these 2-year-olds, and so they're not started to be reiners. They're bred, Wimpy's Little Step, Topsail Whiz is how he is, and we've seen him crossed on, different types of mares, but they want to have the attributes that we want them to have. It doesn't necessarily mean everybody gets the reiners get a negative connotation, kind of because most of them that anybody's ever rode has been rejects. I mean, honestly, if you rode reject roping horses, you wouldn't like roping horses.
Yeah.
There's so much pressure put on those horses that there's lasting damage done sometimes, and we felt like we spent a lot of time trying to get that out, and some of it came out and some of it didn't, but that's why we chose to go from the ground up with our program.
For me, starting them, it ties in everything you want in a young horse. You want a pretty mover. You want one that wants to stop, that wants to turn around. And it seems like with the reining, that's the stuff they're bred to do. And like Trevor said, we've had good horses bred for all different disciplines, but the reiners, they're just bred to move pretty. And so you can teach them their job, and they want to go to a cow and they look good doing it. It's worked good for our program. It seems like they have good expression showing. You can teach them to do their job and be good to rope on, and at the same time they look good doing it. And that doesn't hurt at all when you're showing them.
Hey, we haven't shown anybody or posted publicly those videos of Buckles, have we? Of him with the first day you put him on cattle?
No, we haven't.
They're a little violent. I don't know if
he was a touch aggressive, but they'll just kind of have to take our word for it. He went straight to the cow. May or may not have had a little hair in his mouth when he was done.
May or may not have lifted the cow's butt up off the ground.
It was pretty all there. I think there's a reason we haven't posted that, because anyway, we don't want to attract any unwanted attention from any animal rights advocates, but it was pretty all there. Yeah.
It was definitely an oh shoot moment for Miles when my horse picked the cow up off the ground.
Oh man, those were great. Yeah, everybody will have to take our word for it on that. All right, pivoting on this subject, you've got Dagger, who is by Show Me the Buckles, that will compete at the Rope Horse Futurity. And I know we've talked about this. You've got Dagger, everybody knows him because he's won pretty much everywhere that he could so far. Firecracker, who's won 2 of the American Rope Horse Futurity Association events this year, and won a fortune at the Futurity last year. You've got Greed, who everybody knows. But there are, I've named 3 right now, but there are quite a few more that people might not even realize you have, that are going to be surprised, that might be surprised when they see you in the first round of the Futurity. Tell me about who's riding what. Have you guys figured that out yet?
Kind of. A little bit.
Yeah, we've got it narrowed down to, we know at least 4 of the 5 horses each of us are riding.
Okay.
I'm riding one of our 5-year-olds. It's funny, I almost said older horses, because we just have 4 and 5-year-olds other than Greed, and he's Larry D's. But the toy box is a 5-year-old that I rode Firecracker at probably 10 or 11 circuit rodeos this year and made the circuit finals on him. And then I switched and started riding Toy Box. He's a bay that he just has some niche stuff about him that you could blindfold him and turn a cow out in the arena and he would go find it. He's a beast. He can run. He's a big facer, and he's a gamer. He's a BFI type head horse. I'm showing him, and he's placed behind Firecracker at a couple of futurities, just right there close to him. And then I'm showing a 4-year-old we call Little John that he's 4, and Tristan jackpotted on him this summer. And Tristan, Trevor's boy.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is a testament to that horse as a 4-year-old. He's solid. I've rode him at ranch rodeos. He's just a good-minded 4-year-old. And then I'm going to show another 4-year-old. We call him Lambo. He's not a full sibling, but he's actually a full sibling to Charlie Crawford's head horse they call Cotton. But all those horses, Greed, Cotton, Ransom, that Trevor and LD and Clint Summers had him, and Wyatt had him, all those horses are bred similar. So I'm showing that one. And then I'm going to show a 5-year-old we call Rico that come from Darren Johnson. He's a super classy. Trevor's done some good on him this year, heading on him, and I'm going to show him in the heading, and Joseph Harrison's going to show him in the heeling.
Were you always going to show Rico, or is that a newer development since?
We just wake up, roll with it. I had this
It's been like that for a while, though.
Yeah. Ever since the shoot at my house, I guess, when we left him there.
Yeah, that's what I was
had
thinking.
this horse I was really excited about showing, and I woke up one day and he was no longer in my stream either, so it happens to both of us.
I remember, Trevor, Miles, he acts like a cool guy around you, but when you left Rico at his house that day, he was so excited. He's like, I can't believe he just left Rico.
I just thought somebody with a prettier face needed to be on that horse.
So Shatta was going to ride him then, or?
Yeah, exactly.
That's funny. Today's episode is brought to you by Cactus Ropes, the Future. It is a core rope produced with Relentless, Trevor Brazile's brand. It is a 4-strand, small diameter head rope and a 4-strand, large diameter and full-bodied heel rope. And it is about everything you need in all climates. It's a bright blue rope, and it is sure to change the game of roping. They use the new manufacturing technology combined with a year of input from Trevor Brazile to create the future. It's got unique weight distribution that creates perfect balance throughout the rope, and it has an extremely identifiable tip. It's got friendlier shelf life as an added bonus. The Future comes in everything from a 32-foot super soft the whole way to a 37-foot medium hard heel rope. So it's got a little bit of everything. It's all available at cactusropes.com, at your favorite Cactus Ropes distributor, wherever that may be. Check them out, and you can also call 1-800-SPIN-WIN to put in an order and tell them we sent you. Trevor, are you showing Wall Street?
I'm either going to show Wall Street or Glory. That's the two we haven't decided yet.
Ah, gotcha.
He's waiting until the last minute to see which one's working better.
I mean, you've already seen he's basically got the pick of the litter, and I'm on the scrubs anyway, so I'm going to see.
So, Glory and Big Shot, you raised both of them, so it's like kind of a natural fit that you're going to show them.
Well, yes and no. Miles rode Glory.
Yeah.
For forever. Started her. So, he spent as much time on her back as I have, so he knows her well, so it's not a big deal for him to show her at all. But Big Shot has probably had as much success as, or probably more success than any 4-year-old we've had all year, because I've been showing him since February.
Mm-hmm.
And like Glory, for instance, she had cut her hoof right from her coronary band down and was out of pocket for a little while, so much that we even bred her this spring, so she had a lot of time off, so she was just a little bit behind, but man, she's caught up. That's a good mare.
To be clear, you bred her and pulled an embryo on her. She's not carrying a colt.
No, she's not bred.
Okay, just for anybody listening that isn't. Now you're in the breeding game, you can just drop things all the time. I know you're kind of an expert now on breeding, but to be...
No, I'm not.
You just assume everybody knows everything.
I'm excited about that, baby. That was before we had our stud, and we bred her to a Frenchman's guy, so I'm really excited about that one, too. That's obviously been a producer, and I'm really high on her since her history of being out of a full sibling to Deputy, the calf horse I rode at the finals for forever, so I'm excited about that cross too.
Yeah, I don't know what the genetic chances are with a Palomino and a Red Roan. And I know we don't ride color around here, but it's always an exciting prospect. But that's going to be cool. If anybody does know more about breeding and genetic crosses than us, please speak up and tell us what color baby you're going to have.
Yeah, for sure.
Very good. So then, we did not ever talk Larry D into riding Greed, so you are going to show Greed again?
Yeah, I'm still mad at her for that one.
I know.
She should have rode that horse. That horse is so good, and she did such a good job with that horse. She should have shown him and taken some of the pressure off of me, because when they've had that much success already, and, you know, it's just more pressure on me because you're supposed to do good on that horse.
Yeah. He's going to be fun. Do you feel any more pressure this year because of what happened last year, or do you actually?
Well, we got to bring up old stuff.
What are you even talking about?
I know. Yeah. I forgot who I was talking to. You have no memory. It's fine. It's fine.
No, I don't. I mean, if I missed one on him last year, my odds are automatically better. I mean, surely my odds of catching are better now.
Yes, you'd think. I hope so.
Yeah. I've been at home practicing.
It's true. You have a whole nother year of practice under your belt at this point. Mm-hmm. So, and who's helping you guys? Did you figure that out?
Miles is doing the heading for me, and Shay's doing the healing for both of us. Shay Carroll.
Cool. He's done a good job for you guys all year too. So
he has.
Yeah.
He has, and then like Miles said earlier, Joseph came down and got his pick, and so I tried it out on Miles, and I stole his pick, so I returned the favor. There was just nobody that Miles could turn to his left and do it to, so he was the last one. He didn't get to do it to anybody.
Poor Miles.
That's how they're like, here's a help horse you can head for us.
Okay, now we've been picking on Miles a little bit, but Miles, I'm glad you're laughing still. Do you want to talk about the last 24 hours of your life?
Well, yeah, I will. Trev and I were headed back from Tristan's football game last night, and my wife never panics. She's the coolest, calmest person you'll ever meet. And she called me, and I could tell in her voice that she was concerned. And there was a tornado. At the time, it was 15 miles south of us, but they were predicting that it was coming right at us. And I'm thinking, no way, 15 miles a long way for a tornado to travel. Well, she calls, and it was 3 miles away, still headed on the exact same track. And so I told her it was directly southwest of her at this point. And so I told her to go the opposite direction and get out of there. And we had I can't tell the story without saying this. Trevor immediately pulled the car over and just started praying because he could tell I was concerned, because obviously I'm 2.5 hours away from my wife and all the horses that Trevor and I have in Oklahoma right now. And right now we just have Futurity horses here. So honestly, the majority of the herd is up there in Oklahoma. And so I'm concerned. And we pull the car over and start praying. And I think that we get a report that the tornado missed us. And somebody told us that the storm chasers were on the hill there at our house and watched it go by on the hill. Well, turns out they were on the hill up above our house, and it went directly through us. And so Daisy, my wife, thought that everything was okay, and she got home, and our place had just been wiped out. 3 barns, the house, everything involved. And I don't mean wiped out, like it's not leveled, but just the bones are left, like the frames of the barns. It ripped the roof off of everything. I mean, I got home as fast as I could, and it was devastating because I've lived at that place since I was 4 years old. And when my parents moved, I've lived at that place my whole life, and I built on it. I built horse barns on it, and it's home to me. And when I pulled in last night, it was a feeling that I had never felt before. And I caught myself today just like, that really happened. And so it's been pretty surreal the last 24 hours. I was out there. It was about 2 o'clock last night. My dad, he came out there and was just sorting through things with me. And he said, "You need to get back to Texas." And I looked at him like he was crazy. And I was like, "What are you talking about?" Or to put it blunt, like, everything is on the ground, scattered. There's nothing left. There's horses that don't have pens to stand in. And I'm like, my life just crumbled. And he's like, "You got to get to Texas. You've worked all year long to get these horses ready for the Futurity. You're 10 days away." He said, "You go down there and finish what y'all started, and all this stuff will still be here when you get back." And so I got the pickup at 2:30 last night, and I was back down here at 5 o'clock this morning riding colts. And I'm going to stick to the script, and we plan on going and winning the Futurity. I go to the circuit finals the next 3 days. I'm going to ride one of Trevor and Shadow's horses they call Mohawk, and save our young horses for the Futurity next week. And so I'm down here focused on that, and whenever this is all over, I'm going to go home and pick up the pieces and rebuild, because Oklahoma is a big part of our training program. There's 10,000 acres of grass up there, and mama cows that need taken care of and doctored, and that's a big part of our program. And so it's important for me and Trevor, to go back and make sure that we get everything fixed back up there. So that's the plan.
And I think it was shocking. And I can't tell you how many people called me today after, I guess just because we know each other or whatever, and we shared that post that you had put up on Facebook. The guys in the top 15 were calling, asking about it, and those videos were amazing, but they didn't even show how much damage was done and how many horses were not hurt. Like, it just blows my mind how everything came out unscathed.
Yeah, so to put it into perspective, if you're listening to this, you can go look at the pictures, but there's 3 different barns horses were in. One is it's a 6-stall barn. They're like 12 by 35 foot runs that are covered. That barn is completely gone, or at least 75% of that barn is completely gone. And those pens are filled with tin, and all the pipes were drove 3 foot deep in concrete, and it pulled those pipes that make the pins up out of the ground and shifted all the pins. And then in the back, there's 8 pins that are 18 by 20s, and they're completely covered. There's no roof on them. They're all tweaked and bent. There's a stock trailer laying up against one of the pins, and the roof's caved down in it. And then the other barn, there's the south side of the barn fell over into the pins where there was a horse. So that came into when Trevor pulled the car over, because the pictures that I seen before I got home, I didn't even ask him about the horses. Trevor, that was the first thing. Trevor was like, "Hey, how's the horses?" I'm an hour away. I don't want to know till I get there, because we're going to be picking up bodies, and I just wanted to get there and see it for myself instead of hear about it. And I get there, and our 2-year-old Slick by Design stud colt has a 16-foot half-top trailer leaned up in his pen and a caved-in roof over him, and he can't go 5 foot each direction, and he's sitting there eating his alfalfa like nothing in the world happened. And I'm like, how in the world do these pens end up with 10? There was 10 in like barn doors a half a mile down the road from where they're supposed to be, and these pens are filled with tin and debris and creosote quarter rounds and everything else, and there wasn't a single scratch on any horse out there. And there was probably in those pens 12 or 15 head of horses that went completely untouched. And so I know this is a Team Roping Journal, but that if that's not power and prayer, then I don't know what is, because that's specifically what we prayed for, was, to place the hedge of protection over those horses. And it was just devastating to look around, and then you look around and these horses are just hanging out like, man, that was wild. It was literally what they looked like. They were just eating and hanging out like nothing happened. And it was pretty amazing. In a really bad time, to see those horses completely unbothered was really peaceful to somebody like me that just lives for horses,
Yeah, I think that was just the right level of excitement for Jukebox. It was probably just a big fun game for him. All the stuff flying around, give him more things to chew on in his pen.
Yeah, he was the only one that had any kind of effect at all from the deal, and I think the sand was blowing so hard in the pins that his eyes were a little puffy, and that was good for him.
Exactly.
I'm glad he got the short end of the stick on that deal. He needs that every once in a while.
Yeah, if there was anyone that had it coming, it was Jukebox, so it's
Yep.
good.
Yep.
Well, I am so glad. I was up half the night once I got your videos and your text. I couldn't believe it. I was amazed. I was just in awe of how grateful that we all should be for that, because that was just amazing. All right, now, I told you guys I was recording this after Elisa's dance class. She is doing her very best to be the best quiet girl. But before we go, because I am going to let her survive this, because she's about the best 5-year-old I've ever seen. But Trevor, tell me about the Future Arsenal, because that is the big thing right now with Cactus Ropes, and you've got a lot of stuff coming out with that.
I'm going to clear the record for our prayer requests right quick, too, because the people were involved, too, not just the horses. Trevor wasn't just thinking about the horses, just so y'all know, if y'all are listening from Oklahoma.
Yeah, he was. Please, Lord, please protect all the horses that I'm part of.
The Future Arsenal. Man, I know that sounds confusing. They're like, why don't they just make a new rope? But there's just something about when you get that blend that works that well. I love that rope. That's our best seller by far. We make some great ropes, but there's some kind of that Barry outdid itself on that blend, and so you may have to get your pen and paper, folks. But we started with the Future head rope. Then we came with the Future heel rope. Then the Future light heel rope. And now we've got what we call the Future all-around, which is kind of what Miles uses every day. It's basically, it fits the needs that those first 3 ropes didn't fit. My go-to heel rope is the Future light. Miles uses this Future all-around, which is basically a ranch rope, a really light heel rope, or a 35-foot head rope. I mean, it covers all those bases. And so when kids are starting their journey in team roping, this is the heel rope I think they need to pick up. It's called the Future all-around. It's basically a 35-foot Future head rope for the guys that like to reach and don't feel like 32-foot serves them well enough. But this is the kind of rope that me and Miles will grab one in the morning, and whether we're heading or heeling, just never switch ropes all day. And it just filled the void that I think was needed to just have a real well-rounded selection for everything Future.
Perfect. And it's got some rank pictures that we took of it, so everybody can look in the Cactus Ropes ad, and there's lots of
Are you
cool...
trying to get photo credits already?
Yes, you guys pay me.
I'll make sure we give you photo credits. But yeah, no, it is. It's one of those ropes that we might have made for us, and I'm just like, there's too many people. Like, it just has too many bullet points to list under it. Like,
yeah.
So many girls in the all girls love the light feel of it, like a medium soft Future all around to heel with. Mm-hmm. Same thing for kids learning to. It's really hard for a lot of people to get in time with a big heel rope when they're not used to swinging it, or their arms might not be as strong. And it's just easy. I think that's why Miles likes it.
I was going to say, it's probably great for old men with bad shoulders and bad elbows that used to try to calf rope.
Retired guys.
Yeah, old retired guys who thought they had a calf roping career at one point that need something light to swing. All right, guys, I am going to go because my kid was just the best behaved 5-year-old, and she would really like to get out of this car that we've been sitting in front of her dance class. So, thank you, Miles. I appreciate it. I know your day was absolutely hectic, and you're probably so dead tired, so thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And thank you for making Trevor sit down and do this. I know he's not easy to handle.
I've really been wanting to do this, Chelsea.
That's not true. I know that's not true. All right. I'll talk to you guys later.
All right. Bye-bye. Bye, Lise.
Say bye, Trevor. She's on her. She's not allowed to talk.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'll go for that.
Okay. Bye. Hey, remember, this episode is brought to you by Cactus Ropes. That's cactusropes.com. 1-800-SPIN-WIN. That's how you can put your order in for the Future arsenal. The whole lot of those ropes coming out. Make sure you call them, tell them that you heard from us, that there are new Futures that you need in your rope bag, in your trailer, in your tack room, ready to go for all kinds of different scenarios. We're so glad you're here. We are so grateful for Cactus Ropes, and we are so grateful for Trevor and Miles giving us the time on the score today.